We have some off the beaten path showcases and E3 prep to get to. Let's talk. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and today is Friday, June 4th, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. Like I said, we had some pretty off the beaten path showcases, so let's jump right into those. Warhammer had its own kind of showcase for all of the Warhammer titles, which there are a lot of. If you're keeping track at home, there are quite a lot of Warhammer titles that have been turned into games. They also included mobile games that they talked about. And they just put 20-minute showcase together. This kind of seemed like a pre-E3 thing. And like I said, we'll be talking about E3 in a little bit. But this kind of seemed like a perfect middle of the year. We're going to talk about some games and that's coming up. They had a little bit about Total War Warhammer 3, but nothing too much. Just a little bit. Just like a teaser trailer or something like that. So we're not ready to see Total War Warhammer 3. I'm questioning whether or not maybe that won't hit this year, if they're not like showing gameplay or anything like that. They started off with Vermintide 2 and adding DLC characters and new maps and stuff. So for all those who, I just love the name of the studio, Fat Shark. So they came on, they're like, hey, we're from Fat Shark and we're working on Vermintide 2. So it's a really great name for a studio. So shout out to that. But they got Vermintide 2 DLC. And then the thing I really liked was they talked about Dark Tide. Dark Tide is the kind of Left 4 Dead type game where you're playing like a first-person 4-player co-op and you're fighting off waves of I don't know, cultists and homogrants and all that kind of and homogants. That was always the thing we said. But Tyrannid, you're fighting off Tyrannid and you're doing it all as kind of the Imperials. So very like the human story, and they had Dan Abbott, who's a famous Warhammer author, come on and start talking about kind of the story he's been working on. So all that came together. I was just really surprised. The showcase, I didn't even make fun of the name of the showcase. The showcase was called the Warhammer Skulls Showcase, which just goes to show you how metal everything that has to do with Warhammer is. So that was very exciting, and I was very excited to see it. I'll have a link down below so you can watch it yourself. But I definitely enjoyed all of the Warhammer content, and like I've always said in the past, there's just so much Warhammer IP that they can do so many great things with. So I'm very excited about them kind of putting together their own showcase and talking about games and what's coming up. So excited about that. PlayStation, again, slightly off the beaten path. PlayStation had a spotlight, which I didn't know these were regularly occurring things, but they just kind of had like a spotlight showcase. All I could find was like a 1-minute trailer that kind of ran through a bunch of titles. Whether or not there was actually a like 20-minute Twitch VOD or something I could have watched, that it was really hard for me to even search for that. So I don't know if there's actually a whole video or if this 60-second trailer just kind of, shotgunning titles out was a very good way of marketing these games. But there were a couple games that caught my eye, and like I've said before, I'm a very big fan of like VR, even though I haven't invested yet, but I'm really excited to kind of see the market grow. One of the games they talked about was The Wanderer. It's just it had a pretty cool art style, and it's a time traveler game, so they just had the player going through these like series of different puzzles, but all in different environments. So pretty cool first-person puzzle game it looked like. They had Arashi, Castle of Sins, which was like a feudal Japan, and the character seemed to be holding like a crossbow, and they could like grapple hook up. So that's an interesting way of traversal, which I thought was really interesting. And I like kind of the feudal fantasy elements of that. They had a game called Fract, which kind of reminded me of like a Borderlands art style. It was a first-person shooter, and again, there was like a lot of different methods of traversal. They had a skiing game, which just like immediately caused the thought in my head to be like, is skiing a good traversal method for this shooter? And it was really interesting. It's not like a biathlon kind of like ski shoot or anything like that. It was actually more kind of cartoony. But also like the game name Fract, pretty cool name. And last but not least, they had After the Fall, which basically looked like Left 4 Dead in VR. Like they had these weird, big zombies, and the zombies all had different abilities and stuff. And you're playing like 4-player co-op. So again, kind of harken to like a Left 4 Dead based, Left 4 Dead kind of based in VR. So all of those look really cool. I had heard briefly about After the Fall in the past, but very interested to kind of see, more VR games, and hopefully this means like maybe we're getting a PlayStation VR. We can speculate about that in the coming weeks as E3 comes around. Speaking of E3, perfect segue, might I say. E3 schedule is pretty much kind of cemented in. So starting next Saturday on the 12th, we've got Ubisoft and Gearbox. I thought that was kind of unique. Gearbox is kind of having their own, and there was some leaks this week talking about like the next Borderlands game. So we think some of that's related. On Sunday, Xbox and Bethesda have theirs, so those two are kind of just combined together. We already know that like Halo is going to be talked about, and fingers crossed it's coming this year. And then Square Enix is going to follow behind them. So those are the ones for Sunday. We got Monday with Capcom and 2K. Like I said, 2K had a couple leaks, and so we were wondering, we speculation and rumors started up about kind of Borderlands and a couple other games. So hopefully there's still more to be revealed. And then Tuesday is Nintendo kind of usually bringing up the rear with their Treehouse event, as well as Bandai Namco and their event. Also, I found this pretty unique about the E3 show this year. And I think some of this has to do with like Jeff Keighley and his involvement in Summer Game Fest and all that kind of stuff. But there's going to be an award show at the end of E3. So the first E3 awards are going to be happening this year. I remember back in the times, like at the booths would get awards for like most anticipated game or best booth presence, or most anticipated gameplay or something like that, or best showcase. So E3 already gave out awards, but I think maybe in a virtual environment, they're trying to still capture that kind of award ceremony. Although I don't know that it was much of a ceremony to begin with, but they're still trying to capture that all. And I think they're a little threatened by like a Jeff Keighley and kind of what he does to end the Game Awards. So E3 is trying to kind of cash in on that. So it'll be good to kind of check that out and see what these kind of award show is like. So very much interested in what's going to happen with that as someone who's a big fan of kind of the Game Awards. God of War Ragnarok, not its confirmed official name, but the next God of War game has been delayed out of 2021 into 2022. This is my surprised face, because I pretty much knew that this was going to happen. The fact that at what was it? Back in like March when PlayStation was kind of talking about all their games they have coming, and they were identifying months. And like Horizon Zero Dawn just had a year, and God of War just had 2021, and we still hadn't seen anything about God of War. I was pretty much assured, and you can probably go back and check the VODs, but I was pretty much assured that God of War was not hitting this year. And I figured very much that was not going to happen. So it sounds like we're going to get Horizon Zero Dawn this year, but I was very much assured that God of War was not coming this year. And anybody who bet against that, I think, was very much wrong. So I am excited to play the next God of War game. I loved the 2018 God of War. So very much looking forward to it, but I did not have any expectations for it coming out this year. So I'll have to play that next year. Netflix is not officially in the game space yet, but they are getting in on the E3 action as part of Summer Game Fest. They are partnering with Jeff Keighley. They're kind of doing I think they call it like Geek Week or something like that. And they have like a whole series of content related to games, and so they're kind of showcasing that next week. So that's something to look forward to. Running down the list real quick, they've got The Witcher show, so hopefully maybe we'll get some more Henry Cavill next week. We've got Resident Evil. They've been doing a lot of animated series with Resident Evil. Obviously, Castlevania is really good. They've got Cuphead, so they've got a ton of IP kind of invested in they've got a ton of content invested in the kind of game space. And it's pretty cool to kind of latch that onto E3, give people some content that they can get excited for. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's more there. I hope we get Witcher before the end of the year. I think last year we got it 2 years ago we got it as a Christmas present. So I'm hoping, kind of sneak it into this year. But looking forward to seeing what Netflix has coming up. Dark Horse, the comic book publisher, is getting into games. They're building out a kind of licensing house. to license off some of their strong IPs. My first reaction to this was like a pretty cool Hellboy action RPG, kind of like a third-person, action RPG would be pretty cool. They also have the Umbrella Academy, and they have 300. They have a bunch of really good IPs, so I can kind of see them kind of building out a kind of licensing house to help license out some of their IPs, because IP is very much like king a lot of the times. So you want to be licensing it out and doing stuff with that. So hopefully we see Hellboy more involved in the game space. We can see some of their other IPs. I don't know what an Umbrella Academy game would be like. Maybe rotating around different characters and playing through like a visual novel kind of story-like, like a Telltale game maybe. Something like that would be pretty interesting. And then 300, we don't have to get knockoff 300 in Assassin's Creed. We can just get an actual 300 game that we would all want. Although I think there was an actual 300 game and it was bad, if I remember correctly. So just better than that. That's all we're asking for. Not very much. Moving right along, happy Pride Month, everybody. So this month is Pride Month, and with that comes a lot of companies are cashing in on some pretty good deals. One of which is Tell Me Why, a game I've been looking forward to. Kind of reminds me of like a Don't Nod Life is Strange game. Tell Me Why was produced by Microsoft, and they're giving it away free this month. So if you want to play Tell Me Why, you can pick it up free on the Microsoft Store. I've been super excited about it. It's been in my like Game Pass portfolio for quite some time, so I'm very much looking forward to it. And hopefully, might as well get to it this month. No time like the present. So again, happy Pride Month, and looking forward to playing Tell Me Why. Speaking of leaks, like I said, 2K had a series of leaks this week, and one of the games that people are kind of rumored, speculating on is Firaxis is working on a Marvel title. Speaking of IP, Firaxis is working on a Marvel title, so everybody's kind of thinking like, what does a Marvel XCOM game look like? And I can kind of see that with like superpowers and a turn-based strategy game, taking turns kind of doing your superhero activities. I think it could be fun. I love Firaxis and XCOM and all those types of games. I love turn-based strategy. I love superheroes, so I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what comes out of this. It's a leak, and all those leaks have to be taken with a grain of salt, but it was kind of, nothing's officially backed up, but like a lot of big press were kind of talking about it. So I think there's some validity to it, and the question was whether or not this all was leaked ahead of E3, and so maybe we'll see something at E3, or if we're going to see something maybe later this year. So hopefully we get more information on that, because I don't usually like to base my anticipation off of leaks. So looking forward to seeing what's coming up next for that. Operation Tango is a awesome PlayStation game that came out this week. It is a co-op spy game where one player plays as kind of the field operative in first person, and one player plays as the hacker. They had a really cool trailer. I'll have a link down below. They had a pretty cool trailer for it of like two teammates kind of communicating, and everything's all about communication. So kind of feels like it would hit the same itch as like an Overcooked, where you're just like trying to constantly communicate and be sure that you're helping one person or helping the other, and back and forth, and making sure that that open line of communication is working. So looked like a fun co-op game to play. I'm looking forward to checking it out, because me and my wife always like to play co-op games together, and this could be a perfect game for that. So Operation Tango looks like fun. It is on PlayStation consoles, so looking forward to seeing what that's all about. Among Us has, as part of their next update, is adding both a 15-player update as well as a new color. And so people, they had a really cool trailer kind of showing like this green character slowly, like this dark green character, forest green character slowly getting pushed in, and then it kind of cracks across the side, and you see a tan Among Us. So very much understated, like a very muted tan, but I did want to talk about kind of the 15-player update and the new kind of a tan Among Us character that you can play as. So you can be sus in your khakis now. Looking forward to that. Last but certainly not least, this one checks a lot of boxes, but there is an MMO open world Animal Crossing kind of build your kind of plot of land game. It's called Palia. I didn't quite get the name, but it kind of had like a Warcraft art style. So you got that like an MMO element. A lot of what I was reading about it kind of said it's open world, like Breath of the Wild, which every open world game now is going to be like, hey, we're like Breath of the Wild. But you're really like building up your terrain. You're like setting up your house. I'm kind of wondering what the objective is, but it definitely looks like fun, as everybody who bought Animal Crossing and played that can attest. Building up kind of a plot of land is very fun. Kind of building it from the ground up can be very interesting. I also thought about like what questing would look like in this game, because again, it's like an MMO, so you might have to travel very far to get elements so you can bring them back and then make something super cool to put in your house. So I think a little bit more emphasis on like the crafting system could be really interesting. But yeah, this kind of game really caught my eye. So interested. I think it's like pre-alpha or something like that. But we kind of saw the potential early on. I don't know how big the MMO market is nowadays, but definitely looked like something I could get a few friends into and play for some time. So looks like fun. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. That's it for the week. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you do, follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch so you can see more great content like this. I'll have links down below in the description so you can check that out. Thanks again. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend. And I hope you have a super day. Bye!